I don't know whether you can read this. This comment on my vlog. If Trump is a Christian, I'm Mother Teresa. It's a long comment, and there's bits of it that I'm thinking I can't be bothered to reply in writing to whoever Dr. Valerie Cox is. I don't know how I was directed to this account. It's really not very reassuring. And she's enforcing the story about the homeless black woman who was squatting in one of his buildings, which I'd already shared a story from a UK tabloid that busted the myth. But you can also look at Snopes on here that says Donald Trump let a homeless woman stay at his hotel in New York City rent free for 8 years. Snopes say it's false. They say that filming from her hotel window, the woman says she originally snuck in the building before becoming a squatter in one of the empty rooms. It's not clear, apparently, where she was filming from. It could have been anywhere in the vicinity of Trump Tower or one of his hotels. And Snopes have decided it's false. What else does she say? Talks about loans for small businesses. And these are loans that to companies with ties to President Donald Trump. There is swiftly receiving small business loans under the $669 billion Paycheck Protection Program, whether it's public companies run by Trump donors or those hired by lobbyists with connections to the White House. And some multi-million loans are going to large companies or small business as small businesses wait for relief. So if I understand this correctly, and I might not have done, this is him feathering his nest and doing this for people that have ties to him. So, there's always something in it for him. It's not him being generous and kind and philanthropic. It's him feathering his own nest. I haven't looked at this bit yet. There's President Trump has donated recently $35 million to victims and survivors of sex trafficking. Well, he would. That's what paedophiles do. That's what sex pests do if they've got the money. They throw money at the area where they are suspect to try and cover, I don't know, it to really, or not that he would feel guilty. I mean, he's a narcissist. He's not going to feel guilt. But it's what it would be like Prince Andrew doing the same thing. It's what they do. She goes on to say, you seem to fancy yourself as a good person. I don't know, maybe you are. Well, I think I am. And she says earlier on, how do you know President Trump? Well, how do you know President Trump, Dr. Valerie Cox? How does anybody know Trump? Unfortunately, he is or was. Luckily, God knows what's happened in the midterms, but luckily he's been off the radar a bit. But that's how I know President Trump. I know him from watching various news channels. I know him from watching and reading various papers, or trying to avoid him, actually, because he's disgusting. And I'm saying he's disgusting again because he is. He's horrible. And that's how I know him. At the end, there's this, you, my dear, which is incredibly patronising. You, my dear, need to step away from the BBC crack pipe. Well, maybe she's smoking the Fox News crack pipe. I don't watch BBC News, or rarely. I watch various news channels, and it's bleh. What was I thinking? There was something I was thinking of before I did this vlog. Google. I have said before, and I'll say it again, Google is curated using algorithms that are more related to me, where I live, and my region of the world. So when I Google something, it brings stuff up for me that it won't bring up for you when you Google. And it's really important not to assume that somebody is not seeing what I'm seeing, or I'm not seeing what you're seeing, or we're not seeing the same stuff. It's wrong to assume that, which is why quite often this is what happens when I talk about President Trump, because I'm seeing stuff about him that you're not seeing. I see stuff about him that you may not be seeing because Google is throwing other stuff at you, and it's important to remember that. What I would suggest is that you watch the documentary. I'm going to pause you whilst I look for it. It was the documentary called "You've Been Trumped," and it's about the building of the Turnberry Golf Course in Scotland, and what he did to the group of people who lived in and around that area. Watch that and see what happens to them. Watch the old lady whose water has been cut off, and she has to go and get water from a standpipe. And she's an old lady; she has to go and get water from a standpipe to for herself, because they cut her water off. They did everything to get rid of the people in this area so that they could make their. Watch that and then come back to me and tell me about Trump. That's that bit done. We've had quite a productive morning, and we now have a cardiology appointment booked for each of us in March. It's what's that? Where are we? November. 5 months away. I'd lost both of the referrals, and when I was more unwell than I am now, 2 or 3 weeks ago, I couldn't find them, and I find it really distressing when I start to lose control of the paperwork, because it is what I do, and I'm really good at organising, and because of my fuck up with medication, I wasn't doing so well. So I'd lost both the referrals. So I then found my referral when I was going through my PMR paperwork ready for my doctor's appointment. I found my referral but couldn't find Mark's. We were meant to ring in September for appointments. We've been waiting since last March, I think, for appointments. So finally we have appointments for March. He's made me, the doctor wanted me to go back to the rheumatologist, which is the best plan really, because it's quite possible that what's going on for me is rheumatoid arthritis and not PMR any longer, or less likely to be a PMR. So I've got an appointment to see her on the 23rd of January. So he made that appointment. What else did he do? So he starts off, because making telephone calls in French and dealing with telephone calls in French is, I think, the hardest thing. And I think I'm still stuck in that groove, because actually I manage them quite well. When Emmaus rung me yesterday, I managed it quite well on my own. When he was making the phone calls this morning, I could hear what they were saying, and actually I was answering their questions in French, because I think I compute more quickly than Mark does in terms of, it going in and coming out. So yeah, I think I probably could do the calls myself. I get him to do them still out of habit. So we've done that. We've been and picked up prescriptions. I've been and picked up the flu vaccines, and they're in the fridge. And I've booked appointments for us to have our flu vaccinations on Thursday morning. So that was good. And when we have our flu vaccinations on Thursday morning, I'll ask about the 5th COVID vaccination, because apparently the vaccinations, because of the variants, because it keeps, can't think of the word, mutating. It's a bit like the flu vaccination, the flu vaccines, they have, it mutates every year. And each change means that they have to make a different vaccine, and then they have to guess which vaccine to make, and that happens every year. And obviously it's different this year, and a lot of people are getting flu because of the much more social distancing and masking and being separate from people, And so nobody, or very few people, got flu during the year of the first lockdown, and so those that haven't had flu or didn't get flu have not don't have an immunity to whatever's going around at the moment. So it's important. I'm sort of feeling a bit bored with the COVID vaccines, but I think I still need to keep going. I certainly need to keep going until after we've been to Canada, because it would be good to be well whilst we're going, and then come back and see what happens. It was notable that Clelia, age 16, had COVID this summer, and talked about how horrible it was, and talked about how, had a horrible headache and how ill she felt. And I'm thinking, for somebody of that age who possibly hasn't ever had flu, it would feel really horrible. I'm sure it feels really horrible for everybody. I don't know, but I think those of us that have had, which I had in the past, I've had 2 of the big flus, and there was one in 68. I can't remember. There was an Asian flu. I don't remember whether that was the 68 one, and there was another one, and I had both of those. And Jo, my daughter, had one of those in, I can't remember what date that was, and she was really, really ill. Really ill. It's like worryingly ill. And back then I didn't really understand that antibiotics wouldn't make a difference, and so I got quite angry going to the doctors, and she needs antibiotics and they wouldn't give them, and I didn't really understand that wasn't really appropriate. But at the time I think it was just, I was so worried about her. But she was so ill that I was giving her a bath, which was absolutely exceptional, because she's always been quite private, and she was letting me give her a bath, and she just said, and she was, I don't know, she was about 11 or 12, and she said, "I just wish I could die," which is awful, isn't it? So yeah, I don't want to die. I don't want to feel like that. So I'm going to have my flu vaccination on Thursday. Mark's having his, and we'll have COVID. We'll ask about the COVID ones as well. So yeah, it was productive. I feel like I'm back on top of things, and I hadn't been, and that isn't how I live my life. I like to know that I am, things that need organising are organised, and I'm on top of things, because I am. It is me that does all of that. Mark doesn't do that, and God, I'd have high anxiety if I was relying on him to do it. I was like, no. So all I've got left to do today, because this has been sitting waiting, is to sew this button on my cardigan that came off the other day, and it's been laying around. Then I put it in the pocket of the cardigan, then I took it out of the pocket of the cardigan, and then he got the sewing box down to sew something for himself. I went, "Oh, leave that down, I'll use that." And I'm looking at that thinking, I don't know where the button is now, but I've come across it. It was on my desk hidden by something else. So yeah, so I feel like we're on top of things, and life is good. Despite what people say, somebody said to me in comments, "Your life must suck." And I'm thinking, no, I don't think so. So no, my life. Oh, hold on, I'm going to pause you a minute. This is ridiculous. This is so fun. Le Comte de Monte Cristo on Tattle said, "I really had to laugh. Kathy is talking about she went to a friend's house. They served coq au vin, but the cock didn't look like one." Kathy, use the word rooster then, please. It sounded so odd, but so fucking funny. It made my evening. Thanks for making me laugh. A much better watch than a gag, I know. Rooster au vin doesn't work. Over here, it's a cock. Full stop. Period, as they say in America. It's, rooster au vin, cockerel au vin. It doesn't work. It's coq au vin. Sorry. I'm pleased you had a laugh, though. Okay. So, it's me. That's done. And you'll get this when you get this. Bye.